Hi, I have a message that I wanted to share today, and it's really for those of you who, for the last 2 years, have been aware of the struggle that you've been in to find your path forward in life. Now, for some, it's not a struggle. For some, it's as easy as one, two, three. It just all starts well, moves well, flows well, and goes well. That is not the case for a lot of people. So if you have been struggling to find your way, I want to share a little bit about what that looks like, because the first part of your struggle is feeling it. The second part is being aware of it and asking questions. And usually most people start and stay with why me? I was in that situation for a while, but because of the nature of what I had to go through, I moved out of that very quickly. And some of you already know that story. So I'm not going to repeat it here. But what is important is to understand the spaces that you move through with your consciousness and your energy. And when you transition out of the why me, or as I call them, the why nots with a K, K-N-O-T-S, you shift your energy and you start to begin to balance what is within you with what is outside of you that you're experiencing. This is not about creating your own reality. This is about crafting your balanced experiences in life. And it takes a long time to become a master of that kind of balance, just as it would if you were going to be working for Cirque du Soleil. It would take you years of practice to be able to perform with that company and trust yourself fully with your skills. Living from the inside out is exactly the same. So, full transparency, being able to see yourself clearly, being able to recognize that there's one view that the world has of you that's very likely not at all who you are. And then there's the view of who you are on the inside. And the balance is to come and bring those two literal lenses, perspectives together in a way that is balanced within and without. And it's balanced in truth, not in projection, not in emotional deregulation, not in trauma bonding. All of those are phases that we go through to clear the energy that is about stopping you getting to be who you are going to be in this system that we live in, which I call the system of separation, because that's what it is. So in full transparency, I want to share with you what that process can look like. It has lots and lots of turns and turns and turns and turns and turns and turns. Once you shift off of the, excuse me, why me thing, you're now turning from your own center instead of being turned from the outside in, which will bring you into separation with yourself. The point of this is everyone, and I do mean everyone, with a very small, less than 1% of people have these kinds of really very impactful intrusions into what they consider to be normal everyday life, where they're just doing what they do and trying to be a good person. If you're watching this, the chances are you are not in that 1%. You would have no reason to be interested at all in what I'm doing if you are. But you could be in the 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, 10% that really do recognize that something is going on in your life that is not about who you are, and that there are energies that you can't see that are moving you and moving other people around you. And you're learning, how does that affect you? This puts all of us into the scope of trauma bonding, emotional dysregulation, neurocircuitry gone awry, classic fight, flight, or freeze mode. And I need you to know the impact that has on your life is that it costs you massive quantities of your life force energy that you do not get to use and apply to your co-creation, who you want to be, how you want to co-create with other people who have the capacity to do that, who aren't drowning and flailing. And just because you can't see someone who's walking next to you down the street, drowning and flailing, doesn't mean that energetically that is not exactly what is going on with them. And they don't know how to save themselves. But we're now living in a system of separation worldwide, where we are in generations of families who are still having babies, a mother still working her stuff out, ancestral line, a father still working his stuff out, ancestral line, because these circumstances do not leave us, our bodies, even when we're dead. These circumstances don't leave us alone. That's what it means to be haunted or haunting. In the work that I do with my clients as a life coach, as a master energy healer, now as an author and a speaker, one of the things that I do is when you've pulled yourself up or someone has helped you and you're now standing in the shallow end of the pool, what happens next? Because you're going to have that experience again and again and again and again, just different variations of it. And eventually you're going to be exhausted. And eventually you're going to recognize that you've been in a setup. Now, for those of you who are asking good questions, your question will be, what is really going on here? It will not be why or why me. And that's when you begin to understand the system of separation. And for some of us, because of our genetics, I won't go into that here. It's quite a long, complicated story, but it's really worth knowing. You are equipped to survive. You are equipped to survive and be used again and again and again, literally as in the Matrix, like a battery for the system of separation. Only you don't know this and you don't know how to get out of it. I'm thinking of someone I know right now. When you know someone, when you know a few someones who, after a few decades, have managed to play the chess game that is the system of separation and to clear the board and to win the game. Once you win the game, you choose when you will next play and with who you will next play and whether you will ever play again or not. But before you get to that place, you will be reliving your trauma bonding, your fight, flight, freeze mode in your neurocircuitry. You will be reinforcing whatever deficit of emotional intelligence that you have. And you will be using your own life force to push what is true and good and real and whole away from you because you don't trust anyone. And you're not yet sure you can trust yourself. This is when I hope you come to work with me. Because in my group coaching, in my mastermind, this is where you move from having survived all of your story, of what I call your origin story, and what's hidden in your origin story. And you manage to survive it, but you're not yet thriving because you haven't yet been able to reclaim all of who you are emotionally. I know it took me so long to feel the extraordinary vulnerability of that day in the pool and of other times where I was not safe, where I was not protected, where I had to look out for myself, where I refused to ask for help, where I became a leader and people asked me for help. And that's great. But when that happens, if you haven't dealt with all of your feelings as powerful creative energy, then what happens next? You can maybe identify a narcissist. And what do? You put on a mask. You become invulnerable. You won't go near them. You won't let them touch you. You won't let them make decisions for you. You become very wily and crafty on how to work around their plays in the game. And everyone is your opponent.